It started like any other Wednesday morning at Brookside High. The smell of freshly cut grass drifted in through the open gym doors, and the chatter of students filled the air. 17-year-old Emily Carter walked into the PE hall quietly, clutching her gym bag to her chest. She had always been the kind of girl who stayed in the background, the one who avoided the spotlight, never raised her hand too much in class, and spoke softly enough that teachers sometimes asked her to repeat herself. Her long brown hair hid part of her face, and the oversized pink sweater she wore was her shield from the world. It wasn't just a sweater, it was a gift from her late grandmother, the one person who had always believed Emily was destined for something great. Unfortunately, not everyone at Brookside saw her that way. 3 girls, Stephanie, Chloe, and Brianna, ruled the sophomore class like a pack of wolves. They thrived on making others feel small. Stephanie, the ringleader, was beautiful in the way that made others envious, but her heart was cold. Chloe and Brianna were her shadows, laughing at every cruel joke, echoing every insult. PE was the one class Emily dreaded the most. She didn't mind running laps or playing volleyball, it was the locker room and the stairs that made her stomach knot. That morning, Coach Reynolds had announced they'd be doing basketball drills. Everyone groaned, except the athletes. Emily just hoped to get through the class without attracting attention. But fate had other plans. During a water break, Emily felt a tug at the back of her sweater. She turned and found Stephanie smirking, holding a loose thread. "Nice grandma sweater," Stephanie mocked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Emily tried to walk away, but Chloe stepped in front of her. "Where are you going, Carter?" "We're just paying you a compliment." Brianna snorted. "Yeah, compliment. It's adorable, in a thrift store kind of way." Emily's fingers tightened around her water bottle. She thought if she stayed quiet, they would lose interest. She was wrong. In one swift move, Stephanie yanked hard on the loose thread. The sound of fabric tearing echoed in the gym. Emily's eyes widened as she saw the rip spread across the side of her sweater. Gasps came from nearby classmates. Someone muttered, "That's messed up." Emily's face flushed, not just from embarrassment but from something hotter, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Anger. Not the trembling, helpless kind she'd known as a child, but a steady, sharp heat that surged through her veins. The sweater wasn't just clothing. It was a piece of her grandmother, the woman who had raised her for most of her life before passing away last year. Every stitch was a memory, every thread a whisper of love. And these girls had just torn it apart for fun. "Apologize," Emily said quietly. Stephanie blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "I said," Emily's voice rose, clear and steady, "apologize." Laughter erupted from the bullies. "Or what?" Chloe scoffed. Emily set her water bottle down and stepped forward. Years of quiet endurance had made her observant. People assumed she was weak because she didn't fight back, but what they didn't know was that she'd been training in martial arts since she was 10. Her grandmother had insisted on it, telling her, "Strength isn't about hurting people, Emily. It's about knowing you can, but choosing when you must." Stephanie took a step closer, her smirk widening right before Emily moved. It happened so fast, most of the class only saw a blur. One moment Stephanie reached for Emily's arm, and the next she was on the ground, her wrist gently but firmly pinned in a joint lock that sent pain shooting through her arm. Chloe lunged forward, but Emily sidestepped smoothly, using Chloe's own momentum to send her stumbling to her knees. Brianna hesitated, then tried to push Emily, only to find herself spun around and gently but firmly pushed back, not hurt, but disarmed and stunned. "Get off!" Stephanie hissed, wincing. "I told you to apologize," Emily said, her tone calm but unyielding. Around them, whispers spread like wildfire. "Did you see that? She's like a ninja. I didn't know Emily could fight." Finally, Stephanie muttered, "Fine. I'm sorry." Emily released her and stood, her breathing steady. "Don't let it happen again." Coach Reynolds, who had seen the whole thing from the far end of the gym, walked over. Instead of scolding Emily, he looked directly at the 3 girls. "In this class, we respect each other. You 3 hit the bleachers. Now." Stephanie, Chloe, and Brianna retreated, humiliated. Emily picked up her torn sweater, cradling it gently. That afternoon, something shifted. People looked at her differently, not with pity, but with respect. A few classmates came up to her, saying they'd always thought she was nice but never realized how strong she really was. But Emily didn't care about being admired. What mattered was that for the first time, she had stood up for herself, not just with words, but with action. Weeks later, Stephanie and her friends never bothered her again. In fact, Stephanie kept her distance entirely. And while the tear in the sweater couldn't be perfectly mended, Emily wore it proudly, a visible scar that reminded her of the day she stopped being invisible. She learned something important that day: standing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to hurt someone. It means refusing to let anyone take your worth away. And in doing so, you might just inspire others to find their own courage. Speech balloon: if you've ever been bullied or stood up for yourself, share your story in the comments. Your words could give someone else the courage they need. Loudspeaker: subscribe to Be Kind always for more real, emotional, and inspiring stories that remind us all of the power of kindness and strength. If you want, I can now expand this into the full 5,000-word YouTube-ready version with added emotional backstory, richer dialogues, and more challenges so it holds audience retention for a long video. That will make the pacing even smoother and keep viewers hooked from start to finish.